He slapped her like he was closing a business deal. No warning, no raised voice before it, just his hand, moving fast, landing hard, right there by the fountain at Meridian Mall. The sound didn't fade. It hung there. Grace didn't touch her cheek. She didn't cry. She looked at the ground. Then she looked at him. That's the part that still bothers me. Not the slap. The look after it. I'm Lily Harper, and what happened in the next 4 minutes ended Daniel Cole's life as he knew it.
Let me back up. Grace Whitfield Cole wore a plain camel coat, no jewelry except her wedding band. She carried her own shopping bags. If you passed her at Trader Joe's, you wouldn't look twice. That was the point. Daniel mistook her quiet for weakness. 6 years of marriage, and he never once asked what her silence actually cost her to maintain.
It was a Saturday in November, cold enough for scarves. The mall lit up early for the holidays. They were arguing about a dinner reservation. Something small. It doesn't matter what started it. What matters is what he did next. He raised his hand. He brought it down across her face. A woman near the pretzel stand gasped and pulled her son back by the shoulder. A teenager lifted his phone, hands shaking. A security guard near the escalator took 2 steps forward, then stopped. Nobody wanted to be first. That's what makes a crowd dangerous. Not cruelty, hesitation. Grace turned her head back toward him. Slow, deliberate. She looked at him once, not with fear, with something closer to pity. "You'll understand," she said quietly, "when the truth arrives." Daniel actually smiled at that. He thought her silence meant she had nothing left. He thought the crowd's silence meant they were on his side. He was wrong about both. She turned. She walked to her car. She didn't look back. 4 hours later, 10 black Rolls-Royces turned onto Sable Avenue in a procession that stopped traffic in both directions. And nothing in Daniel Cole's life was ever the same again. If a story like this hits different, if you've ever been in a room where someone looked right through you, hit that like button and drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this one travels. Subscribe, because every story I tell gets heavier than the last one. Now let's go back to the beginning.
Marcus Reyes had worked mall security for 6 years. He'd broken up fights, called ambulances, dealt with shoplifters twice his size. He had never, not once, seen a crowd go completely silent like that. He radioed it in. "Possible domestic. Fountain Court. I need..." He stopped talking, because that's when the first car turned the corner. "Need what, Marcus?" his supervisor asked through the radio. "I don't know yet," Marcus said. "Just get out here."
1 Rolls-Royce, then a second. By the 4th car, phones all over the plaza had come up. By the 10th, the plaza had gone dead quiet, except for engine hum. Daniel turned around. His smile was already gone. "What is this?" he said. Not a question. A demand, dressed as one. The lead car stopped directly in front of Grace's parked sedan. The rear door opened before the driver had fully braked. A man stepped out, mid-50s, silver hair, a suit cut specifically for his frame, the kind that doesn't come off a rack. He didn't look at Daniel at all. He walked straight to Grace, stopped 3 feet away, and lowered his head. Not quite a bow, but close enough that everyone watching understood exactly what it meant. "Mrs. Whitfield Cole," he said. "Your family sends their respect. We've been waiting." Grace nodded once. "Tell them I'm ready." She turned. She looked at Daniel one more time. Not cruel, not triumphant. The look of someone who'd tried to warn a person and accepted they hadn't listened. Then she got in the car. Daniel stood there holding nothing, understanding nothing, while 6 suited men repositioned themselves around the vehicles like this was a routine they'd rehearsed 100 times. "Sir," Marcus said, finally reaching him, "I'm gonna need you to step back from the vehicles." Daniel didn't move. Who is she? Marcus didn't answer. Marcus didn't know either. Not yet. By the time Daniel got home that night, his phone had already started. His brother, his business partner, a number he didn't recognize that texted a single word. Watch. He watched. 11 seconds of video. The slap, the silence, the cars.
600,000 views, climbing while he stared at the screen. He called his attorney at 9 p.m.
"Who is Whitfield Cole?" he said. Not hello, not an explanation, just the question that had been eating him alive for 4 hours. There was a pause on the line, long enough that Daniel said, "Are you there?" "I'm here," his attorney said. "Where did you hear that name?" "That's not an answer." Another pause. "Daniel, sit down." "I'm sitting." The Whitfield Property Group isn't public-facing for a reason. Grace's mother built half of it. Grace has been the actual decision-maker behind it for the last 9 years, working through people who've never once put her name on a document. You married into one of the only families in this state that people don't cross twice. Daniel said nothing. "Why didn't she tell me?" he finally said. "Maybe," his attorney said slowly, "she didn't need you to know. Maybe she needed you to think you were the one holding the power. That way she could watch what you actually did with it." The next morning, a woman named Priya Nathan, the family's attorney, called Daniel's office directly. "Mr. Cole, I'll keep this brief. The incident yesterday has already been documented by 3 independent parties and reviewed by our legal team overnight. I want to talk to Grace. Mrs. Whitfield Cole is unavailable." "For how long?" "That," Priya said, "is entirely her decision. Not yours. Not anymore."
By Monday, 2 of Daniel's business partners had quietly pulled out of a deal that had been 6 months in the making. His firm issued a one-line statement, distancing itself pending review. His mother, the same one whose comment had started the argument at the mall, stopped answering his calls entirely. The video hit 11 million views by the time I sat down to tell you this. Here's the detail that mattered, the one nobody noticed until later. 3 weeks before the divorce papers were even drawn up, before any of this, Grace had quietly moved 2 accounts, updated a passport, and had 1 carry-on suitcase sitting packed in the back of her closet. She hadn't packed it that Saturday morning out of some sudden burst of dignity. She'd known this day was coming. She'd been ready for it the way a serious person prepares for anything important. Quietly, carefully, long in advance. The slap didn't create the ending. It just told her the ending had finally arrived. Grace never gave an interview. She didn't need to. The family released 1 clean statement. Mrs. Whitfield Cole and her family thanked the public for its concern and asked for privacy during this time. Nothing dramatic, nothing bitter, just distance. The same distance she'd kept between herself and the world that made her for 6 quiet years, while a man who called himself her husband stood beside her at dinners and never once asked what she was actually carrying. If you've made it this far, tell me in the comments. Did you see the cars coming, or did they catch you off guard the same way they caught everyone standing in that plaza? Daniel thought the slap would end an argument. Instead, it announced to an entire family, one that has never, in 3 generations, forgiven public disrespect, that he had just made the only mistake he could never take back. He thought he was ending a fight. He was starting the only one he could never win.